There we go. We're live. All right, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Explain It. My name is Caroline. My co-host Ingryd will be here in a little bit, but we have a special guest today. I think a majority of you guys know who this incredible, lovely, charming, gorgeous, awesome person is. This is Tanishia Epps, one of my best friends and the industry expert on midterm rentals and everything else you can need and more. So Tanishia, thank you so much for joining us today. Look at that, perfect timing. The co-host Ingryd decided to pop in here. So Ingryd, hello.
Hi.
Hey, Ingryd.
My hair, what is my hair doing?
Well, you look staticky on my end, so I think you'll be okay.
Your hair looks perfect.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
But thank you for joining us. I know that you were on some calls, but I just gave our introduction and we're ready to get started. I want to just say for everybody who's watching this, you might be watching us live, you might be watching us after the fact. This is something that we do for free. Our podcast is called Explain It, completely for free. Please, if you are watching, if you're on Instagram Live or if you are listening, please give that like button on YouTube. Hit the subscribe. We're trying to make this as free as possible so we can help more people get out of the rat race and have financial freedom so you guys can do whatever the heck you want. If you're finding any value in here, please let us know. And if you have any questions or anything that you'd like us to talk about, we are taking topics. Actually, I believe I need to update my link tree because Ingryd is it on your link tree right now? Where if you would like to join our podcast and you're an expert in an industry, we are starting to take some requests to join us. So we'd like to highlight you if you are an expert. The whole point of this is to ask questions and to learn. We started being curious and asking questions. So this is how we can help other people ask questions, ask them in the side chat. We're going to get to Tanishia. With that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Tanishia, where are you in the world and who are you? I know I gave you that introduction, but who are you for everybody who's tuning in?
Yeah, as you can see on the screen, wherever it is, my name is Tanishia Epps, and I am an investor based out of Richmond, Virginia. Mm-hmm. And I love these two ladies on the screen. Can I just start there? These are my girls. This is so exciting to be on the show with you because I remember the day we were on the phone and you were trying to come up with the name for your show. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what I said, but Ingryd said, I got it. And then here came Explain It. So it's pretty cool.
It is really neat how you kind of brainstorm with your people. You're part of our campfire. You're part of the people we want to talk about and how the market's changing and what we're going into to really get it so we can all hang out together on vacations and do whatever you want. So you're part of the reason why our podcast exists.
I mean, I watch it every week, so I'm right in the comments with everybody else.
You are. You're one of the realest friends that I have. You're really a good friend. You're very supportive. So I love that about you. And just for everybody on here, if you ever do have the opportunity to talk to Tanishia, she's going to drop an option for you soon to talk to her. Do not waste any of it. Seriously, she will give you the shirt off of her back to help you out. So Tanishia, thank you so much for squeezing us in. I know it's been a very busy week for you. You just won an amazing contest that you didn't even know you were a part of. And now you got to go fly private jet to a freaking, what is it, a resort? What else happening? What's going on in your life because you've been such a giver?
You know, the funny thing is, I really don't know a whole ton about it. So let's just start there. What I do know is I got chosen to take Pace's spot on a private jet to hang out with Ed Milet. That's the biggest part that I know. I also know that it's part of the Tim Tebow Foundation. So Pace and Jamil made a donation to the Tim Tebow Foundation, and it got them this seat on this plane for this 2 or 3 day event. And both myself from SubTo and then Mahmoud from Astro got chosen.
Mahmoud's awesome too.
Yeah, so
I love Mahmoud. Yeah,
I know, me too. He's awesome. I met him at the not the Golden Ticket, the TV show premiere, the second one, when we were all out there. So yeah, he's going to be going too.
That's really cool. So for everybody, if you don't know who Ed Milet is, one of the I think all of us got to see him for the first time in Vegas last year. He's got a book called The Power of One More. You guys should check him out. I'm very excited for you. I would almost say jealous, but I'm not, because I know you're going to come back and share everything with us. It's a great opportunity. And this was given to you because everybody in our private community voted for you. It wasn't even like Pace handpicked you. It was everybody was throwing your name in the bucket and you were picked because of everything that you do. So again, I just want to say this. If you ever get the opportunity for Tanishia to help you with your midterm rental, if you want to partner with her, if you ever just get the chance to see her, go up, introduce yourself, and you make a friend for life when you make a friend out of Tanisha. So I'm very blessed to know you, Ingrid. I know you feel the same way. So I'm ready to kind of get into the thick of this here because I know we only have an hour, and we were talking about doing something where we could do a bonus outside of this. So I want to be mindful of everybody's time. So you do midterm rentals. Where are you located, Tanisha?
So I'm located.
Can we pause for a moment? Can we ask Tanisha, how did she get started? You know, what did you, you know, what were you first doing? And because it kind of lends like why you chose midterm rentals, right? So maybe you can give us a little bit of like who Tanisha is and what were you doing, girl?
Yeah. So the funny thing is that like most people, right, you get this book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So my fiance gave me this book probably 10 years ago. And I picked it up and read like the first 5 pages, and then I put it down. So I'm like, I don't really have time to read this book. And then I decided I was going to get into real estate by being a realtor. And that didn't really work out so well because I had just started working from home from a job that I traveled for 10 years. So I literally knew like nobody. And as a realtor, you probably need to know some people, and you probably shouldn't be an introvert. So those 2 things did not go well for me, like at all. So some years down the road, just before COVID, I picked up that book again. I was literally cleaning off a bookshelf. And I said, oh, let me pick this book up again. I showed it to my fiance. I'm like, yeah, do you remember when you gave me this book? And he said, yeah, did you read it? Well, no, I didn't. So I started reading the book again. And I think for me, the big piece was I was at a different place in my mindset. And so where I was 10 years ago is nowhere near where I am today. And just reading the book really resonated with me very differently than it did the first time I tried to pick it up. So I started looking up local meetups for real estate, kind of connecting with people, going to some local meetup groups. And I literally pulled the trigger, surprisingly enough, because I take forever to make a decision. Like it takes me 2 years to buy a car. It's really, really bad. So I went to this meetup and I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. I connected with a lender. I got approved for a line of credit. It was great. And then COVID happened and they stopped lending. And I'm like, well, what am I gonna do now? So I had the bright idea to get a home equity line of credit on my house. So I'm like, okay, well, I need money to do something, and they're not lending. So I have wonderful credit. I can just qualify for traditional loans. So I read another book about long distance real estate investing because where I lived was extremely expensive. And I just really followed the directions in the book. And I bought 4 houses in 7 months, which was wonderful. 4 houses in 7 months. They're all like traditional rentals.
Wait, what? 4 houses in 7 months?
Yep. 4 houses, 7 months.
The traditional way. So you had to go put your down payment and you have loans on them.
Yeah, exactly.
What markets were those in?
They're all in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
You know where they are. They're from the Hoosier state, where you can buy a house for $100.
Hoosier Daddy. Okay, got it.
Hoosier Daddy. That's where she's buying them, up in northern Indiana, where the Mad Ants are. Okay, anyways, go ahead, Tanisha.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I know somebody who played for the Mad Ants.
Well, I know who the Mad. If you guys don't know who the Mad Ants are, they're like a G League team for the NBA. So they're the go up there and hang out. I used to play at the Space Center up there. That's where I had my AAU tournaments. So I know Indiana. That's a good. Hey, Fort Wayne, you got a smaller college. You got this. It's a good market to be in if you're going to be in Indiana.
Yeah, okay. It's a very good market, and the rentals do really well there. I have a great property manager. It's phenomenal. But my problem was I was going to run out of money really fast, and I didn't know what to do after. So I did a Google search and said how to buy real estate without your own money. And then this guy named Pace Morby started stalking me on YouTube. He just doesn't know it. And needless to say, I went down the rabbit hole like everybody else, tried to join a Facebook group that I thought was free. But it was really the private Facebook group that I tried to join. And I got a call from someone that said, hey, did you know you were trying to join this group that is a private Facebook group? I am not a social media person. Well, maybe not as badly as I used to be not. But I had no idea what a private Facebook group meant. And so I ended up joining SubTo the same day. So I'm forever grateful to Clemente who signed me up, like forever grateful for him, because that one decision to join a mentorship, which I thought I would never do, literally led me down the path of, meeting you all where I am today. It's like, there's no way, like I would have never met the two of you. I used to come to Arizona all the time for work, but how would I come across Ingryd and Caroline? Like that never, ever would have happened.
Never crossed paths. Never. Yeah. Seriously, it's how we all met. Like, this is why we love each other. It's because of SubTo.
Some of my best friends have come from it. I know that you guys are two, like we talk every day. We all, the three of us talk every day. And I want to ask you, because I was on YouTube University. Again, we're trying to give out information for free, and it's going into, you guys have to take action on this. But I know Ingryd's answer to this because we talked about this, but Tanisha, for you, how much has joining a mentorship or getting a roadmap sped up your process of getting out of the rat race of having a W-2 like forever?
It changed everything. And I will tell you, like I'm not cheap. Okay. I'll call myself fiscally responsible.
Same.
Okay. Fiscally responsible. I'm not cheap. But in my mind, I just said, hey, I can go figure it out. So the fact that you all are giving out such amazing value for free, like I've learned so much from your Explain It podcast just from listening. I mean, it's unbelievable how much I learned. Like the person who was on talking about insurance, was it a week ago? Oh my goodness.
Ingryd hooked us up with that.
Chris hooked us up. He's my insurance dude. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you're in the comments asking a bunch of questions, and these were questions that were pertinent to you because you're in the middle of doing these rentals. Like they were all pertinent.
I literally took up all the questions.
I said, if you impress Tanisha, that means you're good, because she may also not just be fiscally responsible, but she's got a high sense of knowing who knows their shit and who doesn't. So I love it.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say this as well, guys. Don't just sit in here and consume. Don't just consume forever, because I know I used to do that. It's something we can get lost in. Don't get in the analysis paralysis. Go mess up something and then come to a reputable source and ask them questions. And that's how you're really going to learn more. You learn through experience more than anything else. So I love that you do that, Tanisha. I want to get back to you. Continue on. So you joined SubTo, change your life.
Join SubTo, change my life. That's the short version, because I literally could sit here and talk about that all day, about how I am not even close to the same person I was when I joined in, I think it was March of 2021. So we're going into 23. But my problem was I had still no idea what I wanted to do, right? So creative finance, it's a wonderful tool. But if you don't know what you're going to do with the houses that you purchase, and you don't understand exit strategies, and you don't understand acquisition, and then if you're a person who's actually afraid to call people because you're an introvert and you're not a salesperson, it is very difficult sometimes to get out of your own head. And so what you do is start chasing the shiny objects that you see other people being successful in. And it's really tough for people to accept the fact that they can't do everything. And especially that you can't do everything by yourself, and that you don't have to. So I was stuck there for a really long time. So I would see.
I got the disease, guys. I think we've all had the shiny object syndrome. It's terrible.
Yeah.
For everybody on here, when I got it so bad, I had $15 in my bank account. I had so many shiny objects. Literally why we created this podcast, why we do all these things. We don't want anybody to be in the same situation that we were in.
Yeah, I was there for probably the better part of a year, at least. And really, it was just because I hadn't taken the time to really sit down and draw what my goals were. So like the thing I talk to people now when they ask me about a specific niche, or they're asking me where to get started, the first thing I ask them is, what are your personal goals? Like, what life do you want to live? Because that's really the barometer for everything else that you're going to do. It will be the thing that makes you work hard when you don't want to work. It will be the thing that drives you when you want to quit, or when people around you are telling you you cannot do it. So you have to remember what those things are. And for me, like when people say financial freedom, I did like, what does that mean though? For what purpose? So having your purpose and your goals and your drive and what is it that you're working toward is so important, even bigger than the business and the real estate. because at the end of the day, we still all have to live life. And it's okay for us to have dreams that are just for ourselves, not just for children, not just for a spouse. It's okay to dream big for yourself and bring them along in that process. And that's the biggest thing I talk to people a lot when they're looking to get started in real estate, which is really the thing that kind of drove me down my path, because I said, I want to do a couple of things, which is I don't want to have someone tell me when I'm supposed to work every day, right? I want to be able to go to Disney World whenever I want. I mean, I'm a big Disney fanatic. It's bad. And I want my fiance to be able to do whatever he wants to do. Like, those things are really important, very important to me. And so what I thought was, okay, if I want to go to Disney every day or whenever I want to, I can't do that if I don't figure out something that's going to be consistent and that I'll actually work at and that I actually care about. So probably about a year-ish ago, my fiance got me this whiteboard. He's super awesome, like very, very, very supportive. And he's not always necessarily doing the business with me, but what he will do is he'll hear certain things that I'm saying, and then he'll bring me something so I can go focus on it or go work on it. So we had this whiteboard. He's asking me to throw out all these ideas about, who I am and what I want to do. And he's writing and I'm just talking. The first thing at the top of the board was corporate rentals. And that's pretty much what I had at the top. And the reason I chose that is because I used to be a traveler. I worked for an insurance company for almost 20 years. And I was a claims adjuster. I'm still licensed in almost every state across the country. And I worked on the catastrophe team. So I would be the person who would go out when people had disasters and meet with them with their cars and kind of talk to them about what happened with their homes, the situation, their families. I mean, it was some of the worst things that I had seen from just being in front of people. It was really, really tough. But what you learn really quickly is how empathetic you are and how much you care about people very fast. The flip side of that was I had to stay in corporate housing. So I lived in hotels and I lived in corporate apartments. And the apartments were okay, but they still didn't have that, like, I feel like I'm at home. It was, I know I'm here for work, and it's just okay. The furniture was kind of, it was okay. But what I thought to myself was, because I tracked back down what my company was doing, I'm like, why can't I do this? And so I tried to wholesale, like cash wholesale, for a long time. It just wasn't clicking to me because I'm a really analytical person with numbers. And I'm like, why the heck would anybody ever sell their house on a discount? Like, why would they do that? I just can't do it. And I really felt like I was cheating people. I did, until I really understood the service that we were providing. And it took me a while to get out of that. Like, I totally understand the value in wholesale now. Totally understand, because you are providing a service. And the more that I went down the rabbit hole of everything that provided a service, it just helped me come back to the place where I had always been able to provide the most service in my career. And that's really how I got to midterm rentals.
Wow. I mean, what a great journey from start to finish. Like, wholesaling can be tough, especially when you're doing the direct outreach to those homeowners that have like a distressed house or in a really tough situation. So you had a background in insurance. It made it a little bit easier. And then now, are you finding properties and locking them up yourself as a midterm? I guess, actually, let me stop. Ingrid, do you have a question for her?
Why do my glasses always look crooked? I'm sorry.
I was thinking that same thing about mine. I'm like trying not to stare, but
are just not like, I just need to wear my contacts. Sorry. I think I have ADD.
No, anyway. I love this, because here's what happens to mine. Mine go like this, and then I end up looking like a teacher. And then Will's always like, your glasses are not all the way on your face, right? It's like a running joke in my house.
So somebody's asking, what is a midterm rental? But before we get there, I want to take pause for a second. Okay. So we just heard somebody tell us she didn't know what the F she was doing to start. Mm-hmm. She had shiny object syndrome. Does this sound familiar? I recall when me and Tanisha would have conversations, I felt like an anxiety because I didn't know what I was going to focus on. Mm-hmm. And And then like, how were we supposed to provide value? Because Pace would always talk about, make sure you're providing, value to the community, make sure you're providing, and not just SubTo community, just everywhere. So that like, we need to be thinking differently, not just be the wholesaler that's just the wholesaler, right? And so like finding the bunnies, and so I felt this great pressure of figuring out what I'm supposed to do for my life for like this real estate experience. And I recall having some exchanges with Tanisha, like trying to figure out like, what are we going to do? Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. What are you going to do? And like, not really, it took a while. And all to say is give yourself some grace. Like it took me a really long time. And I'm actually working with Marlon Johnson, who's a performance coach. Highly recommend him. And I'm still going through the process of like, where do I focus? And it's because I would actually argue when you're an intellect like Tanisha, you have choices. Some people, and take this the wrong, right, or whatever way, some people can only do one thing because that's the only thing they're going to be good at. But when you're good at so many things, sometimes it's actually really hard to distill what are you going to focus on. And I would argue that Tanisha's that girl. She can do numbers. She is
close. She knows how to talk to people.
Yeah, so it's like, where am I going to focus? So I love that you pulled from a value proposition. I love that you pulled from your previous experience. And hello, it's like the highest margins you can make other than maybe assisted living. Like assisted living makes some crazy, crazy margins. But next to that, I would say from a regular run-the-mill long-term exercise, midterms is where it's at. So tell us a little bit about what is a midterm rental.
So I love this because I did an episode on my own YouTube channel that said, what the heck is a midterm rental? Because it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really mean anything unless you have a client avatar defined. And so what I will say is the Airbnb version is anything more than 28 days. What I say is it's monthly stays. And it could be 1 month, 2 months, 10 months. It could be any of those. Your client avatar may determine how long somebody's going to stay with you, but it's not like a vacation. So, like short-term rentals, I do not call them Airbnb because Airbnb is a platform. So I've gotten really good about not saying that. So it's not a short-term rental. It's not designed to be a vacation. It is literally intended to be a midterm. So in the middle of short and long, where it's 30 plus days. And again, unless you're Airbnb and you say 28 days or more, which is totally fine. So that is what a midterm rental itself is defined as. But the bigger part of that is who is staying with you. Because again, I get messages from people all the time and they say, I'm looking to get into some midterm rentals. And I say, what the heck does that mean? And they say, travel nurses. And I say, okay, that's great. That's one avatar of a midterm rental client. But that does not mean that's the only people. But they're
how many avatars would you say midterm rentals have on average? On average, just I know it can be infinite, but like just so we have an idea, because typically, so we have LTRs, long-term rentals, we have STRs, short-term rentals, we have MTRs, midterm rentals. I don't know whatever if you do like sober housing and everything else. Long-term rentals, you're typically looking at families or maybe like college students for a year. Like you don't have as many avatars for long-term rentals typically. Short-term, it's going to be vacation stays. And then midterm, we know one is nurses, pilots.
Yep. Yeah, I would say, so you have travel medical professionals. I will never say a nurse. So for example, I have an apartment right now that I've had, as a matter of fact, I just re-signed the lease last week. This is my first arbitrage, and we can talk about what that is in just a second. So this is my first arbitrage where I rented a place and then I sublease it back out. I furnished it and sublease it back out. And my travel medical professional that's staying there is a radiology tech. And she and I just had this conversation about a week ago for people thinking, oh, travel nurse, travel nurse, travel nurse. Like there's so many other people that travel in the medical industry other than nurses. So she's a radiology tech, and she just told me that she extended her contract until February. She's already been with me since February. So guess what? I have a built-in tenant until February at minimum, which is phenomenal. And she's about to help me gather more people from her hospital because they keep asking her where she's staying. So I just had a meeting today at that same location with my designer. Shout out to myself for delegation, because that was another problem.
That's important. That's so important, because so many of us are like, okay, let me just put on my, okay, I can lock this house up. Okay, hang on. Now let me furnish it. Also, hang on, wait, let me figure out when the next tenant's gonna be. Hang on, wait, let me set up my bank accounts for this. Hang on, wait, now I gotta get a pool guy over here. I'm gonna take all my hats off the wall. Hang on, wait, let me figure out.
Let's get bookkeeping.
Yeah, bookkeeping. What about insurance? Don't wear a million hats, guys. Don't get lost wearing a million hats. Do the delegation.
Okay, first thing. Why did Caroline have so many hats?
Delegation for the wealth creation.
Don't forget all your social media platforms.
Oh, Caroline, why you have so many hats? Oh man, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted because this is how we talk to each other like all the time. So if you see me in tears at the moment, like it's every day talking to these two ladies. It's like Comedy Central, but business at the same time. Oh man,
I think I have like 15 hats and visors and 15 hats.
Leslie's gonna be eating your hats here pretty soon. So I totally forgot what we were talking about. So yeah,
delegation.
Delegation.
You get stuck doing the lawn care too, because you don't have enough. You got to have your sunscreen if you guys are going to do the lawn care. Okay, don't wear too many hats. Hand the hats off.
She's got that many hats because she has some difficulty.
I am very pale,
but
I don't want to get cancer.
Yeah. So what we were saying is because of these relationships and good customer service, because let's be real, at the end of the day, they're not going to refer people if they didn't have a good experience with you, but they've had such a good experience with you that they're like, hey, I would love to refer more business to you. And then good on you for having a designer. I used a designer for our property and surprise. So makes a lot of sense.
At your house at Surprise.
Oh, that's right. Yes. So then tell us, okay, so this was an arbitrage, and is it an apartment?
It's an apartment.
So is your goal then to rent more apartments in that complex to do this?
That was not my intention until I expanded my client avatar. And so the other cool thing is, like, my goal is not to be an arbitrager overall, but I do have cash flow goals right now. And so because my cash flow goal is highly important, because I like to have other things fund my life, like my Lego habit, all those good things, then I have to have other ways to do that, because I love creative finance. I love buying homes, but I don't buy a house every day, right? I just don't. And so arbitrage is a good way for me to fit, but I have to know who my client avatar is. And so now that I have the travel medical professional piece, the relationships that I've continued to build with people, with realtors, with property managers, with other companies, now I'm able to expand my client avatar and my client reach. And so I actually have more demand and more need for people to come and stay. Like a lot of times in my apartment, I love Caroline so much. Before my travel medical professional.
Delegate.
Yes, delegation is so important. I had a lot of people that were staying because they were in between homes. They just sold their house and they needed a place to stay until their next house was ready. Great people. And I screen people very heavily. Like, I ask a lot of questions about why they're staying with me, because I want to make sure that, number one, I'm tracking my client avatars, because now I know who I can target and market to based on who is staying with me and the reasons. So again, this is the difference between, maybe some people who are just starting out with short-term rentals or Airbnb on the Airbnb platform or VRBO, whatever those sites may be. Well, a lot of people don't ask questions. They're just happy to take a booking. They have on instant booking, they keep it moving, they collect the money. But I want to know why my people are with me, because number one, I want to understand my own client avatar. And also, I want to give them an experience that's what they need. And so, if I have somebody that is moving to this area and they don't know very well, I'm going to give them things that are for the area, and I'm going to help them get to know the area so they can get used to living here. So I will ask people, what do you need to know? Is there anything I can help you with? Sometimes I'll go meet people and take them out to lunch and just talk about the location. Now, I try not to bother my people, so I really just ask what it is that they need. And some people they're so grateful for that because they don't know the area, or they're leaving and their realtor's like, "Hey, I don't know what to do, but this person doesn't want to do a rent back." And if anybody doesn't know what rent back means, it's, I just sold you a house, but I want to stay there for a little bit of time after the house is sold. Well, not everybody wants to do a rent back. And if you're getting a house that needs to be sold now, what are you going to do? You're going to go put your stuff in storage. You may try to go to an apartment complex and they say, no, we can't do anything less than a 5, 6, 7, 9-month lease. Well, you can come to me. I'll do at least 30 days. So I'm expanding in that community specifically because I've expanded my relationships and my client avatars.
Like you just threw that in the side chat as well. Ingrid, just if you guys are listening, it's also called a post-close seller possession equals a rent back for everyone.
Yeah, we have a contract here in the state of Arizona that we can leverage so that some things are super clear. It's shorter than a typical lease paperwork, but it covers like the major pieces of like will they actually get charged rent? Because in the frenzy that happened this last couple of years, sellers were asking for post possession and they negotiated no rent for like 2 or 3 months while they transitioned to their new home. So yeah, very, very risky, but it got the deal done for some of our clients who are buying. But that's wonderful. So the reason I wrote, this is business owner talk. And if anybody's ever read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, E-Myth standing for the entrepreneur myth, by the way, is that in order for you to have that good, if you really focus on the customer, which is what Tanishia's doing, it's all about their experience. So the only way that you can have a repeatable process or repeatable experience is to understand who you're serving and what did they actually care about. So a good portion of the book is about franchising. You cannot franchise or have an effective franchise like your McDonald's of the world, your Wendy's, your Starbucks. Starbucks is a franchise, isn't it? But anyway, unless you have SOPs. What does SOP stand for? Standard operating procedures. So so I feel like what Tanishia's doing is setting up what could potentially be a franchise, because she's always going to be looking at a checklist of things that she'll review, make sure each of her MTRs have, so that the people she's serving have a repeatable, good experience. Is that correct, Tanishia?
That's absolutely correct. And that's what I talked to my designer about today. Like, we're just talking about working on your business and not necessarily being the person working in your business, which is okay, because that's where most of us start. We start working in our business until we figure out that we don't have to do everything. You create your processes and you find somebody else that can repeat them for you. And once you do that, now you have more time to work on your business. So I spend a lot of time working on relationships. That is my number one thing, is the relationship building piece, because I actually care about every single person that I work with, whether it's the handyman, whether it's the cleaners. Like, I actually overpay people, whether it's good or bad, but I overpay people, because I want them to know that I value their service, but also I can get people to drop what they're doing at it's pretty quick. Like, I needed to get my cleaners out to a place I just got somebody into last week. I literally had to move out after 3 months, and I had another request for the same house, and I got to move in within 48 hours. And my cleaner dropped everything to get in there, because I actually do longer breaks on purpose just to give them time to get in, check all the furniture. But these people needed to move like quickly. So my cleaner dropped everything that she was doing, got over to my place and got it cleaned. It's because I pay her well, and I
You're dependable, and they
always
know
show
they
that.
can count on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Always show that.
I employ the same strategy with my cleaner. Shout out to Hung, who gave me his cleaner out in Houston, and the cleaner that we have out in our Houston midterm rental, like, which is now a midterm rental. She was my Airbnb cleaner, but you know, she actually dropped all her Airbnb clients and is only focused on midterm rentals, or if it's a like somebody's primary home as a housekeeper. So when she told me that, I felt honored that she stayed with me. And she's like, because you respect our time and you pay us well. And so I was like, okay, girl, I got you.
That's
So,
what people want. At the end of the day, people want to be understood and heard. And if you treat people well, they're going to go the extra mile for you.
yeah. Yeah. And have flexibility, right? When you can. Like I recall, like she's like, hey, I can't work on Sundays. And I said, that's totally okay. 'Cause I respected that. So it did put more pressure on Monday, Tuesday turnovers when it was an Airbnb, but it was the reality. So
Agreed.
Yeah. I want to get to a few more questions because we only have a little bit left here. So we talked before this happened. What is a host avatar, Tanisha? You were telling me about some of the things we can talk about. Okay, we have your client avatars. What is a host avatar?
Yeah, so a host avatar is really you defining, honestly, how much you want to be involved in the business. So for me, like I do all my own guest communications, but I'm also a hospitality person. Unfortunately, not everybody cares about hospitality. They just don't. Not everybody is designed to create experiences for people. It takes a lot to be a person who really, really cares. And that's okay. If you're not the person who's like, I really care about my clients and I want to provide them an experience, that's great. But you really need to define who you're going to be in your business and set your values. And if those things are not extremely important to you, the type of host you may be is the host that brings on a co-host. So let somebody else host your property, but you still have the property, it's yours, but they're really doing a lot of the management and the guest communications. You may be a person, and I use the term host loosely because you could be a person who's like, look, I have a property. I'm okay to manage it, but I literally don't know what to do to get this place booked. Will you help me? And so you may be one of those hosts that just need somebody to help you with marketing. You may be a host that's like, again, I'm using host loosely. I don't want to touch this at all. I just want you to do it all. And just please make sure I get paid and just like leave me alone. Great. I have a lot of people now, though, that are very, very interested in midterm rentals for the concept, but they don't actually want to be involved other than being private money lenders on midterm rentals. So you really have to define like who you're going to be in the industry. And then on top of that, who do you resonate with as your clients? So like for me, I resonate with travelers in the beginning anyway, because I was a corporate traveler. So that's the first thing. So travel medical professionals, like it's really easy for me to relate to their experience because I was them. I just wasn't in the medical field. But the importance of having a place where you can have blackout curtains, where you can close out the light from outside because you're working these crazy long hours. And a lot of travel med people end up working like later shifts depending on the job that they have. So they're working the shifts nobody wants to work. So when they come home, it's light outside. Not only do those curtains block out light, but they also block out sound.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Didn't know that.
So it's really important to understand who your client avatar is. I resonate with those people. And again, I was in the insurance industry for almost 20 years. And so when people have displacements from their home, if you are moving because you got a corporate relocation, I've done a corporate relocation 3 times. And so again, I know what it feels like not to have all your stuff, waiting for your car, being put in an apartment, waiting for your stuff. And you get there 2 weeks before your stuff ever gets there. And you're in this crappy place that's really terrible, but your company's paying for it. So you don't care but so much because the money's not coming out of your pocket. Right. So I can relate to those people because I was one of those people. And so you really have to define who you relate to the most, because the more you relate to them, study who they are. Like there's videos all over YouTube. Let's say you want to do travel med, because that's what a lot of people talk about. If you want to do travel med, spend some time on YouTube, research travel medical professionals. There's so many people that have channels that talk about their experiences as travelers. They talk about how they get paid. They talk about their locations. Study them so you can provide them what they want and what they need.
Okay, great. Okay, so find our niche, focus on it, go all in. Again, guys, I'm a big visual person. You saw me just wear a million hats. One of my best mentors I've ever learned from. If you have a very large focus, you can't cover it all. If you narrow the focus, you can expand the reach and you're covering the entire area. Focus on one thing. Narrow down what you want to do. Midterm rentals are a life hack. If you guys heard me talking about this, Tanishia just got a property that had no furniture, nothing, completely vacant, nothing in it. Rented out for $5,000 a month for insurance. So there are opportunities here to be cash flowing on these, and this is very important. So really niche down on that. I'm going to do rapid fire here because look, I want to get to all the questions that are in the side chat. So we'll get to this one really quickly because it's a good one. Do you have Legos in all of your midterm rentals?
Okay, so hello, Oscar. I love you dearly, and I have not talked to you in enough time. So I do not have Lego sets in my MTR. However, Lego just they're building a $1 billion facility in the city where I live. And so I'm working my way to Lego Corporate to figure out how I can be a corporate housing provider for them.
Ooh,
so
nice.
If I can get that contract, then there will be a Lego set in every single property.
That'll be sick. I actually got my first Lego set for Valentine's Day this year. Very fun, very engaging, but I did not realize how much work went into building Legos. That's that's a good little time killer.
Just wait till you get creator expert. Ask Kirk, he'll tell you in the chat.
I'm just trying to build. I haven't even finished. I'm trying to build a Batman head. I haven't gotten that far. Stop putting these questions up here. I have questions to ask before we get here. We're gonna rapid fire through my questions and we're gonna get through everybody else's. Okay, here we go. We got through we already talked about the difference between short-term and midterm rentals. What is arbitrage versus ownership?
Okay. Arbitrage is where you go and rent somebody else's property and then you sublease it out. Okay. Now, that's like the short version, simple. Please if you're going to arbitrage, don't be one of those people that doesn't tell the person what you're doing. Like, don't be that guy or girl.
You mean tell the original owner,
whatever.
The person who has the
yes, because there are so many people that don't tell people what they are doing, and it's just not worth it. Be upfront and be honest. Tell them what you're doing, and if they say no, move on to the next one. The conversation is not that difficult. A lot of people struggle with the conversation to talk to a homeowner, whether it's a landlord or an apartment complex or whomever. But the big thing is the more you believe in what you're saying and who you're serving, the easier it is for you to convince, and I don't say convince because you're really doing them a service, you can get them to agree. I have one right now that I rent out. The rate is $2,200 a month. And I have a 2-year lease on this house. The owners loved what I was doing as a business. Love, love, love it. They don't really hear from me like at all. If I have a big appliance problem or something, I let them know so they can take care of it. But otherwise, no problems with them. The first time I had that house rented out, $5,000 a month. Second time I had the house rented out, $5,600 a month. Next time I had it rented out, $7,200 a month.
Oh my, are you for real right now?
That's what I'm saying. You know, this is some cash flow queen right here. Right.
And this is important because, guys, have you ever negative cash flowed on a property? The worst thing you can do is be in a property that you don't want to be a part of, where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm just sitting here paying for this. I could be enjoying my life with my family, but I'm stressed out about this property that's losing me money every month.
Oh, I did that, by the way.
You did?
Yeah. So the thing is, like, here's the thing. And I know there's a whole lot of stuff going around that's like midterm rentals. Get a midterm rental when it doesn't cash flow, turn it into a midterm rental.
Yeah.
Okay. I am not of that school. Let me just say.
Okay.
Because you cannot always guarantee that you're going to have somebody. And so you may have vacancy. One of my properties was vacant for 2 months. 2 months. And luckily I've built enough relationships going forward now that I don't have that problem anymore. But I saw somebody in the chat ask, like, what do you do when you want to quit? You freak out a little bit. And you freak out. And then you go call people like Caroline and Ingryd to reset your mindset. Or like my mindset coach is Keston Glasgow. So he's my mindset coach. I text him, I call him, and I reset myself. And then the question I always ask myself, because my good friend Yasser asked, have you done everything you could? And the answer was no. And so you get your butt back to working and you figure out how to make it work.
Okay. I like to pause there for a moment because I had the same experience, right? Tanisha, you know that I was going through some struggles with a couple of properties, but my Tucson one, because I was asking about midterm rental, because I have an update for you. I remember Pace saying once, if you haven't found your solution, you haven't talked to enough people. And so that is like a phrase that has a lot of rent in my headspace, you know, like it constantly is in my mind when I feel like I can't solve a problem. If I cannot solve a problem, I haven't talked to enough people. And I started loosely telling people in my Rolodex don't exist anymore, but my phone, that, hey, sorry for my delay in some communication. I was refinancing a house, looking for tenants, blah, blah, blah. So this guy who I did behavioral health with, who I was helping get behavioral health stuff here in the Phoenix metro area, he's like, oh, I'll rent your property. I was like, wait, what? So we're working on a lease right now. And is it like significant cash flow? No, but it's enough for me to say I'm not going to worry about this property anymore. And so like our PITI is like 3,300 something, and he's going to rent it for $4,000 a month. And for me, like, I can live with that. So anyway,
that's phenomenal.
That was my update, Tanisha. Anyway.
That's really, really exciting. You're right. Talk to more people.
Yeah.
I love that. And that's an honest conversation you had too. You have to look at yourself and be like, you got to look at yourself in the mirror every day and be like, am I really trying, or am I just pushing this off because I'm stressed out? That's a tough conversation to have. We guys, we don't like being uncomfortable as human beings. So thank you for sharing that. Here's my next question.
Victim mentality. Sorry.
Yeah, it's a victim. Ingrid, I had a conversation with Ingrid. She's like, Caroline, are you doing this? Or are you being real, or is this like a victim mindset? I was like, you're right. I'm kind of being a little big about it. I might have a victim mindset. So have your campfire that's going to like tell you the truth, and be like, the best friends you can have are the ones that are going to like tell it to you straight. They'll have your tears on their shoulder, and they're the ones that you can really depend on. You don't, if you're surrounded by a bunch of yes men, get out. All right. I have a few more questions on rattle through, then I want to get to everybody else's. I know we're running out of time here. So here's the next one. How do you have conversations on arbitrage? Here it is. And some negotiation tactics for the leases.
Awesome. So the first thing when you're doing an arbitrage is, and this is with anything, right? What's the problem you're trying to solve for the other person? Because it's not about you. It's about them. If you know what their problem is, like let's say you have a landlord, their number one problem is they have a property that they need to get rented because they don't want to pay out of pocket for it, right? So that's number one. So if you're coming to them and you're saying, I want to be your tenant, that's a problem solved there. Now, most landlords are going to ask you, especially if you say that this is your business. You'll have some people that say, are you doing Airbnb? Because, that's what they call it. Now, for me, I don't. So I tell them, no, I'm not doing what you would consider short-term rentals. Here's who I rent to. I rent to travel professionals. I rent to people that are displaced from their homes and people who are moving in and out of the area. Those are my main client avatars. That's what I tell them. Corporate relocations, things of that sort. I will come in and I will furnish your property. The cool part about that is, because I am running a business, I have incentive to make sure that your property is very well taken care of. So I do regular cleanings. I am in constant communication with my guests, and I'm going to be the best tenant that you've ever had. That's literally what I tell them every time. Like super simple. And then I always throw in, hey, guess what? I'm not going to call you when there's a light bulb out in the refrigerator, because that has actually happened to me with one of my long-term tenants. Hey, Tanisha, there's a light bulb out in the refrigerator. Do you think you could replace it? No, but Home Depot's down the street.
You can go spend $1.90,
yeah.
$2, whatever it is.
So you're not going to get those calls from me. And I set expectations of what I will call them for and what I won't call them for. And that's it. I just keep it that simple. I just figure out from the mindset of a landlord. Now, I am a landlord, so I know what the problems are, but do a Google search and say, what are the biggest things landlords complain about? Figure out what they are, and then come up with a solution to solve it. And then you're their best tenant ever. As they say no, it's okay. Just move on to the next one, because you will get someone say yes.
All right. Good. I like that. Straight to the point. Thank you. Let's get to the next one I have for you here. Pricing. This is important. What should we know about pricing midterm rentals? We talked about it. I'm going to kind of like, how do we even know how we can figure out pricing? Is this kind of where we should go on this, or what do we know about pricing with midterm rentals?
Yeah, it really, number one, it depends on your client avatar. Like that's the important piece. And I am extremely conservative. Like when I could say conservative, I have a house that's in Arizona. And as a matter of fact, I was told not to buy this house, which is okay. So I have a house in Arizona that we bought on a SubTo. So we took over somebody's payments and we're making the payment on their behalf. Our PITI in this house is about 2,700. And then we have a small HOA fee and then our utilities. That house cost us about $3,500 a month. But I said that we probably would make somewhere around 5,500 to 6,000. Okay. That's me being extremely, extremely conservative. I use Furnish Finder to look at pricing. But here's the thing about Furnish Finder, which I love them as a company. I think what they're trying to do in the industry is phenomenal. But their pricing is not based on necessarily having direct, clear data. So I use a lot of resources. Like Airbnb is still a great tool if you're looking at pricing for what other people are doing for longer term stays. And I will tell you, I just read an article today from Airbnb about some changes that they're doing with their program. So they're really gearing toward making it easier to find 30-day stays. So you can use Airbnb as your barometer. Again, I look at whatever the minimums are. I don't go for the highest thing that people are putting on there, because if you do, you're
tell us why. You're setting yourself up for failure, guys. Okay.
Because it's a mentality.
Be conservative always. Don't count your money until it's in the bank account. Oh my gosh, I got this property under contract. I'm about to make $20,000. And then oh my gosh, they actually owed an extra $19,000 or whatever it may be. Like, oh, that's going to eat your profit.
Be conservative. And then when you have those opportunities where people reach out to you, then's your opportunity to negotiate. Now, I've gotten to be a really good negotiator. So that same house I said $6,000 is rented out for $8,500. Phenomenal.
Pay
going into month 3.
Nice. Okay, cool. Next one. Where can we list midterm rentals?
So it really depends, again, who your client avatar is. So you can go to Furnish Finder again. So here's the thing about Furnish Finder. People think that it's only for travel medical professionals. It is not. I get requests all the time on there from insurance displacements. I get requests on there from students for student housing, professors that are in an area. I get other companies reaching out to me. So corporate companies that are having their people come to the area because they're working on projects. I get stuff like that all the time from Furnish Finder. So Zillow, you can still use Zillow. It's a very good resource. I list my properties on Zillow. And I actually had a request today for one for $9,000 on one of my properties on Zillow. I'm just really specific on the keywords that I'm using, which is telling people I'm doing extended stays over 30 days. I literally list it in the description, and you'll have people that reach out to you. As a matter of fact, I think I had a sports agent reach out to me last week for one of their clients. So again, this is why I say, midterms it really just depends on who is your client avatar and who you want to go after.
Okay, so I think we should just end this here. I don't know if anybody's getting any more value. I think we should just stop it. Tanisha, thank you for coming on. Everybody for attending. I'm just kidding. Guys, if you're getting some value, please make sure that you're hitting the like button. This is going to help us with that algorithm. We want more people to see this. If you got any value, I'm sure somebody else can. Please hit the subscribe. If you're on mine, Ingryd, or Tanisha's, I'm going to give you Tanisha's information. We are going to take more questions. I'm just taking the time right now. I want you guys to check out Tanisha's Instagram. If you are not following her on Instagram, I will put this in the side chat for everybody. It is TheTanishiaEpps. There's her link tree. This is how you can work with her. I know you guys are going to want to contact her. This is Tanisha's. I'm going to throw it again in the side chat so you guys can all find it. This is the best way to get a hold of Tanisha quickly. I think on your link tree, actually, Tanisha, I'm going to jump ship off my questions. You can schedule. Let me share this page instead, share this tab instead. If you click on the link tree, this is how you're able to schedule a consultation. So I'm going out of order here, Tanisha, but I want to make sure, because I know some people have to cook dinner, and I know that you and Ingryd both have lives outside of here. I just live on YouTube all day, so I'm okay. But what does this look like? If we just click this, we can fill out an opportunity to talk to you?
Yep, that's it.
Easy
schedule a consultation. Matter of fact, there's someone in the chat right now that has a consultation scheduled with me next week. I'm really looking forward to it. And I just had one with another person the other day that decided they did not want to be a traditional host for marketing. So I am going to help them with marketing. And I have people that reach out to me to schedule for mindset conversations too, a lot actually, which is pretty interesting. And I love talking about mindset. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. This is, when you find something that you love and it's fun, it's not work. Like this is it. So anyway, back to questions.
All right, we'll go back to the questions. I'll give you guys a little snippet there. So I was confused by this when you told me this. What is an OTA? Other
online travel agency. So Airbnb is an online travel agency. VRBO, online travel agency. Booking.com, they're online travel agencies. So when you're in the industry and you hear OTA, it's an online travel agency.
Gotcha. So should we use OTAs when we're talking to people to lease their properties?
What do you mean? Lease, like try to go lease from them?
Verbiage around that nobody else knows. Should we use that?
I definitely would not use the word OTA. I definitely would not use that. And I wouldn't have even actually mentioned that unless they ask you, are you doing Airbnb? The thing I always tell people is no, that's not my business. It's not short-term rentals, but I do list on there because it's a platform just like Zillow where people list their homes for sale. It's just for advertisement. That's all.
Okay. Do you use MLS? Sorry.
Good question.
I don't use MLS, although I'm a licensed agent, even though you're a way better realtor than me. But I'm a licensed agent where I live, but I don't use MLS. But you could use MLS, right? Just like you can use sites like, there are other sites that will transfer your rentals to a lot of places, like Avail, right? It will transfer your rentals to multiple platforms. So you can do all of those. I don't use the MLS, but again, you're a way better realtor than me too.
I should have been doing a little bit longer. Last thing I was hoping it was going to be, I'm going to give you homework, Tanisha. You need to put on your link tree, your buy box or what areas you're buying in. Cause I was looking, I didn't see it. How do we know where you're going to be buying? Cause guys, whenever you want to reach out to Tanisha, to Ingryd, myself, this is what you need to keep in mind. What do I want? We talked about this at the beginning of the episode. You have to have clarity on what you want. You need to be specific. Don't just say, I want financial freedom. What does financial freedom look like? 2, who's going to help you get it? So if you guys are looking to start making some cash flow on your freaking properties, Tanisha is the person you should be talking to. What does Tanisha want? Tanisha, I'm assuming you want deals and private money.
Deals, private money. I'm always working with people for marketing too. So, I want to work with good people. That's what I want to do. I just want to work with people that I like and, who we can build relationships with and have fun doing it. That's the part that I really care about.
Okay. So if I message you on Instagram later, should I just say, what's up? I need midterm rental stuff. Hook me up.
No.
I mean, you can't. It's not be responded to.
Please, yes, please be specific. And so I'll put the disclaimer out, like, please.
Introduce yourself.
What's that? Oh, yeah, definitely introduce yourself. But I can't always get back to people like in 5 minutes. I get a lot of messages and I have a job and I have a business that I'm running and I have a family. So, just my thing is I always respect other people's time. And, I just think that there's a level of gratitude that we all have for each other and for our time. And as long as we're good with that, then we're good. Can I answer one more question real quick?
Go for it. Answer it. Because I'm going to go through all the stuff. Now we will get to the questions in the side chat. So go ahead. What's your other question?
So you may get to this question, but this one is extremely important and I get asked about it all the time. So people ask about regulations when it comes to short-term rentals versus midterm rentals, which is why a bunch of people are now moving over to, again, their version of midterm rentals. So it is extremely important that you read the regulations for the area where you're located. Because just because you hear, oh, there's a short-term rental ban, that does not mean that doesn't apply also on what may be midterm rentals. Because I have people reach out to me all the time and they're like, hey, this HOA or this state only allows 6-month rentals. You cannot guarantee that somebody's going to stay with you for 6 months. You cannot. And there have been times I get literally a 30-day stay or just 2 months. And sometimes people will extend, but you cannot guarantee that. So please, don't assume that just because something doesn't work for short term, that it automatically works for midterm. It's extremely important to do your research for the area and look at what the location allows, because a lot of these places are getting very savvy about how they're writing these things because they really want to focus on homeowners and long-term renters. That's it. Especially in condo communities. They're really savvy. I saw one someone sent me in Vegas. The condo community, it was written so well that it literally said, basically, don't try to trick us and sublease to your own company for a 1-year lease and then go rent to other people on a sublease after that. And if they find out that you did it, they will put themselves in the place of the landlord. Automatically, your CC&Rs allow them to step in as the landlord. They can kick your people out, fine you, and potentially push your property into an HOA foreclosure. That's how detailed they were. And it was well written. So whatever attorney wrote that, good for them.
The attorney was running that HOA and everything.
Yeah. So those are things to really think about.
Yeah.
Read over everything. Ingrid, do you have anything before I rapid fire through the other questions?
Well, I almost bought a property and SubTo, trying to run through things quickly. And I recently found out from the tenant, who's technically the nephew to the aunt who left the country and left them the house. Essentially, they're SubToing it without any paperwork. He's like, yeah, I just read in our CC&Rs that we can't have tenants. And I was like, oh my God, I almost bought this house from you. Like, I almost bought this house and I wouldn't have been able to. So what would I have done?
You had to do a wrap.
Wrap it, baby. Yep. I would have wrapped it, but still, I'm like, oh man.
You think I could find a wrap buyer?
Yeah.
All right. Tanisha, when I want to message you and work with you, should I ask you how I can contact your contacts?
Definitely not, because the answer is like, I'm not going to tell you.
Why? Because you spent so much time learning this and going through this and building those relationships?
Yeah, that's the important pieces. So I get that question a lot, which is, hey, can you just tell me every single person that you work with at every company? Can you just give me your whole list? Give me your whole Rolodex. Can you just give it to me? Well, no, I can't. Number one, because half of those relationships I built over the last 20 years. And secondarily, my relationships are with those people. Like, it's extremely important that I keep the integrity of those relationships. So I can't like just create a list and drop it on YouTube and be like, oh, here you go. Yeah, that actually happened to someone that I know recently that called one of my companies. They had given out a contact there and the person was extremely upset. And I literally had to like try to help fix it. And she was pretty mad.
Okay, so I already put it up on the screen. So the next thing we should do is not ask you all the companies that you use, correct?
Yeah,
same boat, guys. All right.
No, but let's give a hint. I'm going to give a hint to somebody where they can pick up potential contacts. LinkedIn. LinkedIn literally is a business platform. So you're going to find business contacts. And guess who doesn't have all these, what is it, TPC, TCC,
TCPA compliant.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Because when you're doing a business to business, there's less requirements. So just, little heads up, a little nugget. Like, hey.
Here.
Yep.
Wait, put this on.
All right.
LinkedIn, you can use others. Again, Google searches are wonderful, right?
Yes.
Google searches are great. It's just the problem becomes that what happens is, and you know this, what happens is everybody wants the like super, super shortcut. And instead of actually putting in some of the work, which actually, to be honest, gives you a lot more value if you put in some of the work yourself and then come back to someone and say, hey, here's what I did. What do you think? Can we talk through it? Like, that is way more valuable for you than me just giving you my contacts. And even if I gave the whole list, most people wouldn't know what to do with it anyway.
Oh, you heard?
They wouldn't know what to do and they wouldn't do the work. And that becomes,
that's right.
That becomes the thing. So be willing to put in the work. That's all I'm saying with any business. Like, it's one thing to say I'm doing something. I'm a wholesaler, but are you putting in the work? I'm a realtor, but are you putting in the work? I'm a midterm rental operator, but are you putting in the work?
Do you have the HUDs? Or have you actually done a deal?
I just got chills because like that's at the end of the day, again, how many people have you talked to? And that's where the work comes in.
Just for all the new people watching, HUDs are the receipt from the title company that you've done a deal. Just short example. All right, let's go through the questions that are inside chat. Ra said, I'm sorry, Tanisha, I've got to ask. Is there any time in your real estate journey you felt like giving up? And if so, what kept you pushing forward?
Oh yeah, all the time. All the time. And the thing is that it's a paradigm shift to be able to recognize when you're falling back into those, those old habits. Again, let me just tell you, my mindset coaching with Keston is like changed so much for me about my mindset, and including spending money on getting my mindset right. And so just those days where you want to quit, this is why it goes back to setting what you want in your personal life and what your dreams are and what your goals are, because those are the things that keep you moving. So again, on my wall, which is downstairs, I literally have Mickey and Minnie holding hands and it says, live your dreams. I have negativity kills creativity. Like I have all these things around me. I got that one from Keston. All these sayings around me that when I'm having those moments, I just go back and look at them. Or you know what I do? I pick up the phone and I call people like Ingryd and I call Caroline, or I send Pace text messages all the time to show him high levels of gratitude just because I'm grateful for him. Those are the things that keep me pushing forward. I'll go talk to my fiance. I'll just give him a hug and I'm like, that's all I needed. And then I'm right back at it.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Guys, campfire, get your circle. Next question, even though I spelled your name wrong. What do you do to eliminate the gaps between stays, especially off season?
So I don't do anything on short term. I don't. So this is why, again, your pricing is extremely important. And this is another reason that I don't do anything that doesn't cash flow as a long-term rental. Again, that's just me, because you will have sometimes that have vacancy. But if you price right, if you know who your client avatar is that you're going after, it will help you to have fewer vacancies. But sometimes it's just inevitable. So like, again, sometimes I have my properties priced really high, but because I built so many relationships, I can go to more people. Just like Ingryd was able to get that one book because she had a relationship that she had already fostered. Those are the things that are going to get you through those times of vacancy, because you're building those relationships where you can pick up the phone and call a realtor and say, hey, do you have anybody that needs a temporary place to stay? Find a top producing agent in your area, like talk to them. If you understand, this is why I said, understand every single person involved in a real estate transaction, understand every single person involved in a housing situation. Who are those people? Every single person can be the one that brings you exactly what you need. Every single one.
I love that. Okay. This is a good question. I think we're going to push this off for our special thing at the end. Purvi said, do you have a checklist you can share to make the midterm rental ready? I know that you have your own little midterm rental Facebook community. And for everybody listening, we are talking about, well, I'm going to just say it right now. We're going to share a little bit more outside of here on Facebook at the very end of this. So we're not going to get to everything. We're going to do a little deep, extra exclusive stuff on Facebook. I'll drop the link on that for you guys here. So Tanisha, I actually need you to send me over your Facebook group so we can put it in here so everybody can see it. But we'll get to that on Tanisha's Facebook group and mine and Ingryd's, which is Explain It. So that'll be on Facebook. We'll do that after the fact for you guys. Nestor had a question. Lexington, Kentucky is building 2 new hospitals, one private and one is an extension of the university. Is this something I should consider when looking to acquire properties in my local area?
So I love that people focus on hospitals, but just because there's a hospital doesn't mean they have travelers. So I will tell you, one thing that you want to look at is the number of beds, and you can just do Google searches. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite resources, and I think the name of it, please don't quote me, I'm going to look it up really quickly, is the American Hospital Directory.
Love it. Let's go into that a little bit more on Facebook.
Yep.
Nugget we'll share on there. Okay.
All right, cool. This is
I know a lot of people want to know about cleaners. How much do you pay a cleaner? Is that different per market?
It is different per market. And the resource that I use to hire cleaners is Turno. That link is in my link tree. It is a really good resource because the people will bid for your job and then you can pick one. For cleaners, please make sure that they are licensed and bonded and they have insurance. It's extremely important.
Okay. I know that you also, this is another one. How much would it cost to make a 3-bedroom, 2-house ready? You have a list of all the products, or you're building that list to complete it for people to buy from Amazon. Is that correct? For all the products you need?
I'm working on that. But also, and I think Oscar asked a similar question to this. The difference between short-term and midterm is that you do not have to make it super fancy. You don't. Think about who is staying with you. Why are they staying with you? As a traveler, I wanted to be comfortable. I didn't care about super flash. It doesn't mean that you don't have a theme if you want to, or some type of design element, or something that actually matches, which one of my places was totally furnished mostly on Facebook Marketplace, and it was phenomenal for pricing, and the people love it. But I also don't have a great design eye, which is why I hired a designer. But you don't have to make it super fancy. So please, like, don't feel like you have to go overboard unless you are doing luxury rentals, because that's your client avatar, because maybe you live in a place where the homes are $700,000 and $800,000 as the average home price. Maybe that's a little different.
Okay. This is not a question. This is just a really nice comment. Sam said, I'm so glad all of you felt lost, overwhelmed, confused in the beginning, because I've been feeling that lately. Guys, actually on the Daily Dial this morning, Marlon and I talked about this. I know you were on there, Ingrid, or Tanisha. I put a poll up. We had a 99% vote that everybody's felt imposter syndrome. Guys,
that was me too.
It's scary when you're getting started. We're all in the same, but we all put our pants on 1 foot at a time. We all put our bras on 1 boob at a time. You know what I mean? That's how it works. Whatever. You know what I mean? Could be. Slide it around. So, can you do individual rooms as midterm rentals?
Sure you can. No, absolutely. So you have to define the type of property that you have, and then you have to run it basically as mini apartments. So every room should have its own lock. You're going to sign a lease for every single person that's in those individual rooms, because you are running it like its own apartment complex, maybe in a house. So I don't do rent by the room on purpose, because I just don't want to deal with it. I do midterm rentals because I don't have to put in a ton of work every day. But yeah, you absolutely can do rent by the room.
Okay. Can we talk about this on Facebook? Where do you find insurance for your midterm rentals?
Sure.
Perfect. We'll bring that up on Facebook. Let's see. How do you guys deal with HOAs, especially in nice areas? Do you like HOAs, Tanisha?
I try not to touch HOAs, especially because, number one, the prices are too high. For HOA, especially where he's talking about in nice areas, those HOA fees are like $300, $400, $500 a month. That's just killing my cash flow. And all they're going to do is cut the grass for you and maybe give you a utility or so. But you really need to read the rules, because if it's in a nice area in an HOA, they're probably going to figure out how to not allow you to do short or midterm rentals. So really read the HOA guidelines. Every single time you have a property that's in an HOA, read the guidelines and see if you can find somebody, a realtor that's familiar with that area. That will save you a ton of time. I helped Pace not buy a house like last week because of that.
You never want to get stuck on a deal that's awful. And we've been saying this, guys, in all of our podcasts. Underwrite as a long-term rental first. Do not get stuck with a bad deal. Yeah. Do you find clientele first and then the property or on arbitrage?
The first one I did not, but I did have an idea of who I was going after. My first one was a test. It was a serious test, but I also had the money to lose, by the way, just in case. Like, not that I would be happy about it, but I did have the money to lose. Like, I literally put in my mind 3 months of vacancy, and I was okay with it just in case, because I really wanted to test my own knowledge and the business. So, I went and got the property before I had the clientele, and the hospital I thought was going to be the big hitter. I still haven't gotten anybody from there, by the way. Like, nobody.
All right. Ingrid, I'm going to let you take over from here. We're at 4:53. I'm going to let you ask Andriana's question. We can even take it to Facebook if you'd like. So Ingrid, handing the mic to you.
Do you have a different pricing system for insurance versus corporate housing? I think we take this to the private Facebook group. So if you guys want to join us and you want to continue the conversation and we get to a little bit more nitty gritty, come over to mine and Caroline's group called Explain It with Caroline and Ingrid. Join it, and we can talk to the wonderful Tanisha and have some more conversation about your granular questions.
All right. I think we bring it close from here. I was going to make the new link. We're going to wrap it up. If you guys check up our Facebook. Tanisha, anything else you want to say while I put this link out?
I think I just put the link into my group, maybe. I'm not sure. I think that worked. Maybe. Thank you so much. Like, I have such a high level of respect for both of you, and I'm so grateful that you asked me to come on your show. Like, I'm really, really grateful. I appreciate you both.
Don't make me
Seriously.
cry. Don't make me cry. This is what happens when you got all these emotional. Anyway, I won't say what's coming down the pike this month, but I want to say and remind everybody that this podcast is for free 99. So make sure you're hitting those subscribe buttons on either my or Caroline's YouTube channel while you're at it. Also on Tanisha's. Make sure you like this episode. You're sharing this episode. We really do appreciate it. That's all we ask. We're not asking you to pay anything. We're just asking you to share everything. Sharing is caring. And we would love any feedback you have. Like, what could we do better? What else? Like, what guests you think you really need to get on? I'm actually working on a guest right now who does assisted living, and she does it at like a high, and talk about imposter syndrome. Like, I've actually struggled asking her to come to this podcast because I'm like, why does she want to talk to little old me? Like, her lowest cash flowing property is 10 grand a month. That's her lowest. Ooh. And I'm like, geez, Mary and Joseph. Like, so I know she's amazing. We'll see if we can get her on the podcast, but that's the one I'm working on. But remember, in order for us to try hard for you, we need your loyalty. We need you to subscribe. We need you to hit the like button, the thumbs up button. But so which Facebook group are we continuing the conversation in?
So we are going to be able to do it on both. I've actually given Tanisha the link, so it's going to go to Tanisha's link and ours. So we're going to explain it. I just put it in the side chat on Facebook here. If you guys are on Instagram Live, just go to explain it on. I'll even put the link in Instagram so you guys can have it. We're going to start in 2 minutes. That gives everybody a bathroom break. We're going to finish the questions we didn't answer here. Thank you so much, Tanisha. I love you. Ingryd, it's so good to see you again. Guys, do something. Oh my gosh, I forgot to mention one thing. On Monday, I haven't even got to tell Tanisha or Ingryd this. Monday, starting 75 soft. I'm actually going to put the details out later. I'd like for you guys all to join me if you're interested. I know Ingryd just finished 75. Ingryd, it's actually not like 75 hard. It's one workout a day. Okay. It's a flexible diet, 90% clean. Drink half of your weight in ounces of water a day. It's more attainable, but I'll tell you this much. I think you've even said this, Ingryd. When I did 75 hard, I made the most money I've ever made in my life. I was the least depressed and least anxious I've ever been. So I say that. I'm going to put the information out. I'm going to do a Zoom on Sunday to give out the details. I'd love for you guys to join. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to join. If you actually be scared, because getting outside of your comfort zone is where you get better. You heard all of us. We've all had imposter syndrome. We've all been scared to get to figure out what our niche was. I'm telling you, if you hit these things, you're unstoppable. So share this with you guys later. Here's the link one more time for our Facebook group. We are going to go live in 1 minute now. So you have 1 minute, ladies, to go to the bathroom. We'll see you guys on Facebook. Peace.